Okay, so how does a £2,000 liquidation end up costing somebody £70,000? My name's Chris Word, and thank you for tuning into our YouTube video today. So I want to explain to you how this happens, and sadly, it's more common than you may think. Now, if you're looking at potential insolvency, I am sure that you have done Google searches, you've seen things on Facebook, you may have had an introduction from your accountant, and you'll see the costs of liquidating are wildly different depending on who you speak to. Now, this chap, who we will call Barry went out there, and his sole determination was to find the cheapest cost to liquidate. And I speak to Barrys all the time, and your typical Barry will go, Chris, all I want to know is how much does it cost me to liquidate? And this is within 5 minutes of talking to him on the phone. And I say to Barry, I can't tell you what this is going to cost you yet. I need some more information. Barry at that point gets a little bit frustrated and goes, okay, I've already found somebody, and generally leaves the call. But this particular Barry, what he'd done, he'd gone with a quote of 2,000. And he'd failed to heed any warnings of checking things like overdrawn directors' loan accounts and preference payments. And what happened was Barry signed with this insolvency practitioner for £2,000, and a month later, after the insolvency practitioner had investigated the bank statements, they'd found out that he had a £30,000 overdrawn director's loan account. And in addition, he'd made a preference payment of £40,000 a few months before he liquidated. What he'd done is he'd paid back a family member £40,000 after he'd become insolvent. So I want to just dig into those 2 points. An overdrawn loan account is when you owe the company money. You've taken too much money out of the company, it's become insolvent, and the insolvency practitioner has a duty of care to try and recover that money back from you. And a preference payment is when a business becomes insolvent, so you can no longer afford to pay all your debts as and when they fall due, your responsibilities change as a director, and you are to ensure that you are not to make any creditors' positions worse. Now, a few months prior to liquidation, what Barry had done, he had some cash in the bank, and he decided, instead of appointing a liquidator at that point who would split the money evenly in order of preference of creditors, he decided to pay a family member back a £40,000 loan. Now, the liquidator saw this post-appointment and then started action against Barry to recover the £40,000 and the £30,000. Now, this is still ongoing, so I don't know what the conclusion is. But what I am going to do, I'm going to tell you what Barry should have done before rushing into insolvency and signing for the cheapest quote. Whenever you're looking at liquidation, what you must do, you must look at these things and find out whether they apply to you. The first thing you must do is check if you have an overdrawn director's loan account. You can find that out on your accounts. Your accountant may know, but if your accounts are 18 months out of date, it's highly likely they're inaccurate. If you're using QuickBooks Zero, Sage, you should be able to pull off a trial balance. And as long as your software is up to date, it will show your director's current accounts. Okay, it's important. If you've got one, you need to discuss it with the insolvency practitioner, because a deal will be able to be done. Really, they want to get as much money out of you as cheaply as possible. So as long as you do this before you appoint them, you should be able to get a better deal done. In fact, you'll definitely get a better deal done than after the fact. With regards to preference payments, once you become insolvent, you must be careful who you pay and take advice quickly. Because if you pay someone in preference like Barry did, an insolvency practitioner can apply to courts to set aside that payment and come to you personally. So please, 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 please don't go with the cheapest quote. It's not the full picture. The cost to liquidate is just the headline fee. Please, please, please don't be like Barry. I hope you found this useful, and thanks for your time. Bye bye.